Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Mainhart, and I am the Outreach Coordinator here at the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. Today, we are going to have as our guest Michael Hughes, who is an attorney mediator with the Alpha Center. He has a vast amount of experience in dealing with a number of issues that come up in mediation and in divorce in general. Today's subject is going to be on alimony. What is it? Who gets it? How long do they get it for? What is it designed to do? Because a lot of people have an idea that it's this or that. But as we get into the subject, you'll see that there are some guidelines there, and there is some areas that need to be discussed. So, Michael, I want to welcome you today to our meeting. So, to get started, in the state of Pennsylvania, what is alimony?
Well, basically what alimony is, it's to provide the spouse who earns less, essentially, some financial assistance once the divorce happens. And it's trying to provide immediate financial assistance for the person who earns less, and also looking to the future to provide something for their future to make sure that they are secure as they get older.
Okay, thank you. Now, you're talking about the lower earning spouse. I guess it would depend on really the disparity in the income as to really what the alimony is. But how is eligibility determined?
Well, there's 17 factors that courts look at in determining eligibility. And one thing I explain in the mediation program that we have to couples who come in is that alimony is not something that's guaranteed. And you do that in comparison when I talk about child support too. Child support, if you have primary custody of your children as one parent, child support is guaranteed by the courts, that you can go file for child support and you automatically get it, whatever the amount may be. Alimony is not that way. As I said, there's these 17 factors that are taken into consideration in determining if the lower earning spouse should get alimony. There's things such as standard of living that you had during the marriage, what your earning capacity is at this point in time, what the amount of assets in the marital estate can come into play. Mm-hmm. Those are just some of the factors that come into play. But as you said, it's the lower earning spouse who will really take a look and focus on this.
Okay, yeah. So, and if you had to capsulize it, what are the main points in determining a person's eligibility for alimony?
Well, as I said, all 17 factors are taken into consideration, whether you're before a judge or in the mediation program that we have. But two of the main ones are length of marriage and disparity in income. The longer the marriage, the greater the difference in income, the more likely that the spouse who earns less will get alimony.
Mm-hmm. So for somebody who is looking at getting divorced and has been a homemaker for the majority of the marriage, say it's like a 25-year marriage, and et cetera, that's the kind of situation that the main points of eligibility would consider.
Absolutely. And I would think someone in the example that you just gave, that person most likely would get alimony.
Oh, okay, fine. Now, so they get alimony, but how long does alimony last?
Well, this is where you talk about what's law and what's rule of thumb. And this you're not going to find this in a law book in Pennsylvania anywhere. But rule of thumb in many counties is that for every 3 years of marriage, there's 1 year of alimony. Mm-hmm. So in our mediation program, that's at least a starting basis for us when we sit down and we start talking about alimony and length of alimony.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is in a great deal of time there, that these are guidelines but not law, but they're kind of rule of thumb, as you say.
Yes, with regard to the length of alimony, it is. Mm-hmm. There is nothing in any law in Pennsylvania where it says this is the absolute mandated time frame mm-hmm. for alimony based on
given all of that, then how can the Alpha mediation program help make this determination and help the couple decide how to do this, how long to do this, et cetera, versus going to the court and saying, tell me what to do.
Well, one of the great benefits to mediation and mediating your divorce is you can you and your spouse can make an agreement that best fits both of you. So when you're talking about alimony in this case, you can look at this and you can say, and you can come to an agreement where you're both uh, and happy probably isn't the right word, but you're both agreeable to the amount and the duration, and sitting at the same table talking about it and looking at the factors as we discussed. When you're going before a judge and litigating this matter, you are being told by the judge what it's going to be and
Mhm,
the length that it's going to be. And it's not that you don't have input into it, but it's not your agreement. And
mhm,
in mediation, it's your agreement and your understanding on what you're coming to.
mhm. And I assume then that the attorney mediator then is the one to pull everything together and say like, well, here's what the substance is of your marital agreement, et cetera. So here's what you're looking at, and so then adjustments can be made.
That's 100% correct. That
Okay,
is.
that's great. Well, and that's another good reason for mediation is you don't know what the answer is going to be when you go to court, but with mediation, you have an opportunity to try out different solutions and say, okay, if I did this, how would this work? If I do it this way, how will this work? With somebody who is a neutral person, but who has both people's best interests in mind.
That's exactly right. I'm working with both of them to come to an agreeable understanding with regard to alimony and all other aspects of their divorce.
Okay. Well, Michael, I want to thank you very much for being here today, and we look forward to doing some more interviews with you.
Thank you, Barbara.
Take care.